Welcome, everybody, to a brand new season of Identity Talk for Educators Live, the show for the unsung heroes of education. I am your host, Kwame Sarfo-Mensah. And if this is your first time in a long time tuning into this podcast, I'm welcoming you back. And I'm thankful that you all have decided to come on back for a brand new season of fun and learning and just more education. This season is going to be like no other. We have another strong roster of phenomenal educators that we're going to be showcasing throughout the next few months, and I cannot wait to let y'all know who they are. But to start off this new season, I wanted to really focus on self-care because I know that there are a lot of teachers who are coming back to their schools to start the new year, and they're prioritizing self, they're prioritizing mental health, and just trying to do what they can to set a strong foundation spiritually, mentally, emotionally for this new year. And to help us out with that, I got a phenomenal guest who is coming out of the state of Alabama. She is a personal development coach, and she's going to tell us a thing or two about how we can prioritize our self-care as educators, not just for the first week of the school year, but really throughout this year and beyond. So I want to bring on a good friend of mine, Kayland Lamar, to the podcast to talk to us about how we can do that. So let's welcome Kayland, y'all. Hey.
Hey.
What is going on?
Not much. I'm so excited to be here, excited to have this conversation. I actually am just getting out of the classroom. I came here straight from work, so I'm looking forward to using this as a way to de-stress and debrief.
Oh, I know that's right. And listen, thank you for taking some time to talk with us. I know that the beginning of the school year is really hectic, trying to figure out new schedules, new class rosters, probably a new curriculum that you have to learn after spending less than a year with the other curriculum. I know how this thing goes. It's
You
hectic
already
during
know.
this time. I already know. So listen, we're going to just jump right in because there's so much to cover and we got so limited time to do so. So I want to make sure we give our audience what they've been looking for, right?
Okay.
So first question I want to ask you is this. Who or what inspired you to become an educator?
I love this question because it makes me smile. I'm already smiling. So I've always been one to help other people. Before I even understood what I was doing, I was being the teacher for my brother. I have a twin.
Oh,
So yeah, so he's my
fraternal or
fraternal, and so
Mhm.
he is the complete opposite of me. So where I kind of picked up on things really quickly, and he needed a little bit more help. So I would always kind of help him, And throughout the years that we were in school together, I was always the mother hen to him. And so I ended up becoming a tutor. Actually, at a young age, I helped one of my cousins that couldn't read that well. I helped him learn how to read and get better. I worked with him for probably about 2 years, and that was my first job. And so I was getting my little side money, doing a little thing. And I don't even think I was a teenager then. I was still pretty young. And so when I was helping him, I started to kind of understand what it felt like because I watched him start off struggling, and he ended up graduating and going to college. So I felt like I had a hand in that. And so I ended up, I just always had a passion for kids, working with the youth at my church and, things like that. So I ended up going through kind of a tough time. I ended up, I had a major breakup, and that kind of put me in a situation where I had to choose like what my next step was going to be. And
Mhm.
so I reunited with education after I had already I had a bachelor's in biology. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. And then I started working at a summer youth camp. And I was like, oh, this is it. I forgot all about how much I love helping kids because I was helping them with their homework and they were getting excited. And so I ended up going back for my master's in education. And I was subbing and long-term subbing all throughout that time. And so something that inspired me, I'd say along the way, I've just had some great teachers. I've had some phenomenal Black female role
Yes.
models that have poured into me. I actually am very blessed to say that I work with right now my 7th grade science teacher. She was the student teaching in 7th grade. And then she ended up teaching me in 9th grade. Then she ended up being my mentor teacher during student teaching. And now we are co-workers.
But that's God right there. That's God putting in the work.
Yes.
Wow.
So that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, education just runs deep in my family. I have a lot of educators on my dad's side, and it's just something it's just natural.
Yeah. So, of course, before we were educators, we were students.
Right.
Who went through the rigors of K-12 schooling. So this is Identity Talk. So we're really going within to really understand the source of what you do. So I'm curious to know, during that schooling, were there any external or internal struggles that you had as far as embrace your identity or trying to show up as your authentic self in the classroom?
For sure. So as a student, I was very smart naturally. I didn't really have to study. I took honors classes. Amongst the white students, I was the one Black student, or maybe 2 at the max, that was, doing things that I was looked at funny by the Black students because they were like, oh, you think you're smart. Then I was looked at funny by the white students because it was like, oh, are you really in here? So it was kind of difficult at first. But when I became really attuned to who I was and just reminded myself of it's okay to be who you are, I really ended up having a great high school career. But I'd say like 9th grade was just that transitioning between like, which road are you going to go down? Are you going to really battle with this? Are you going to be okay with who you are? And at a young age, I don't know. I've always been mature. People have always called me really wise, but I just really made the decision within to not argue with people, not fight with people. And I just focused and stayed in my lane. And, things would come up. People might say things here and there about, me, but I really just stood my ground. And that's something that I didn't realize what I was doing at the time, that it was a big deal. But I think now, looking back and just knowing the journey that I've made, I just think that was the foundation of how I ended up where I am right now. I can't say that I always got it right. Obviously, as a young Black female, there's low self-esteem. There's, dealing with boys. Oh my gosh. Dealing with difficult situations in general in high school and growing up in Alabama, in lower Alabama at that. So it was a lot of different things between like race, between socioeconomic, like it's just so many different layers that I honestly, growing up, wasn't 100% aware of, because my mom, I would never have known she was struggling, because she made sure I was good. She made sure me and my brother, because it was just us growing up, she made sure we were good. But I now know the types of sacrifices she had to make in order to make sure that we got everything that we needed, because I was very involved. I was in so many clubs, and I think that's also what helped ground me in who I was. And I was just so rooted, because it was like I was a part of so many different organizations, and I was able to be a leader, and I just loved to lead, and I loved to be the president, the vice president. I was just doing so many things, and I didn't limit myself. I didn't, and that's why I ended up going into high school education, and I actually teach at my alma mater.
Oh, wow.
Right. So I teach at the school that I graduated from because I had such a great experience. And I always tell my students, I want to be the teach for you. I want to be who I wish I had. Now, I had
Mm,
some great teachers, but I wish some of them would have remembered that we aren't just, weren't just students, we're people. And so I really do my best to humanize all my students and make sure they know that I'm human too, and that's something that I center in my classroom. Even right now, we are starting out. I think this is like day 5 or 6 or something like that. And I haven't even started coursework yet. Like, we are getting to know each other.
yeah.
I'm laying down the foundation because I'm building strong, solid relationships with them and making sure that we are on the same page and that they know what I expect from them, but also they know what they expect from me.
That's what's up. It's all about that culture building.
For
All
sure.
about that.
For sure.
Um, so you started to touch a little bit on some of the racism that you dealt with taking honors classes as a kid. Now, this is broaden the context. I mean, this is all happening in Alabama. So I've never been to Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
I know about its Confederate history
Yeah.
and just some of the things that have happened historically there. And even just present day, they still have a lot of monuments up of some of those Confederate leaders, and they have that legacy still out there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering, as a child, were those things that you were aware of as far as the Confederate history? And if so, how did that have an impact on you growing up as you're trying to navigate the different school spaces you're in?
Yeah. So I had kind of a understanding of it. I'd say I didn't realize exactly, what was what. Even in high school, I would
Right.
see Confederate flags on belts and on shirts and stuff like that, flying on the, back of people's trucks, whatever. But I really wasn't like putting two and two together, because even in that, for real, they were still, it wasn't like they didn't talk to me or, like
Sure.
they bullied me or anything like that. Some of them were my friends, and some of them I don't even, I hate to say it because I really don't know the truth, because I don't know at their homes, but like some of them, I don't even think they realized what they were doing. They really were just, it's like a learned behavior. Like, my mom wears this, my dad wears this, and so I'm just gonna be this person. They might wear it, they might say certain things, but even in those moments, for some of them, it was just a way of life before they realized what, like, the impact it made, or even what they were actually doing. So some of my closest friends, I'm still friends with now, a couple of them from high school, and we talk about stuff, and I'm just like, y'all, even from being here, my high school, and I told you I had a great high school experience. I actually feel like our class and even the classes around the same time, life was just different. Like
Mm,
right now with social media and like I'm so glad I didn't have
talk
to
about
grow
that.
up with Snapchat and
Oh
all these
man.
things, but life was a little different. And so I'm not in any means saying it's okay what they did or anything like that. But I am saying that even in the midst of all of that, good people ended up finding good people. Like,
That's right.
it wasn't a it was more probably underlying racism. It wasn't really like blatant. There were a couple of instances here and there where somebody might call somebody the N-word or, something like that. But I personally, I was uncomfortable in certain situations because I was the only Black person. But my friends or the people that I, acquainted myself with, they would it wouldn't even be a big deal to them. So I guess it was just like a mixture of big things happening, small things happening, things I really probably, looking back, I'm like, that was probably not a good idea. Like, me being, I would be at, like go to a party and be the only Black person there. I'm like, Kayland, that probably wasn't smart, But at the time, it was like, these are my friends. And but we see all the time
Right.
now that things change so fast, they get mad and boom. So it's just, yeah. I hope I answered your question.
No, this is perfect.
Yeah.
And honestly, when we're at that age in high school, you know what you know, right?
Right.
We don't have the level of consciousness that we have now as adults.
Absolutely.
So even with myself, I went to a all white school during my high school years, and a lot of same obstacles and experiences that you had, I had as well. And because of my, I don't want to say ignorance, but just my lack of knowledge
Yeah.
around microaggressions and other forms of subliminal racism,
Yeah.
I just brushed it off and just kept it moving. It wasn't until years later that I realized, wow, that's kind of messed up what they did. Why
Hmm.
did I not respond to them at that moment? But you live and you learn, right?
Right. Right.
So I want to really get into Kayland Lamar, the self-care guru, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because this is your jam. This is something that you've really been emphasizing through your social media channels, through your content, and other commentary. So I really want to know, when did that start for you, your own self-care journey? Was it a pivotal moment that led you to become more aware of it, or was it something that just developed over time?
Yeah. So self care is definitely my jam. I have been through a lot, especially as an educator. I've worked in the school system for over 10 years. And at this point, I just feel like I've seen a little bit of everything. um, and I also have burned out. And so, what happened actually was whenever I experienced burnout, I was going through a tough spot. I was teaching in the classroom. I had my very first classroom, and before that, I ended up. Um, I was a long term substitute. I had experience being a substitute. I had experience with so many different parts of education. So I was so shocked that whenever I went into my own classroom, that I didn't have it all together, because I felt like
Right.
I felt like I should have had it figured out.
Of
And
course.
so I started to kind of stressed out a little bit, because I was in a situation where I was driving like 50 minutes uh, from my house. I was going to a job that, although I loved it, it was difficult. The students were a bit different than the students I had subbed for, and the students that I had long-term sub for. And I just, what the culture, it was just a little different. I did not have any associates that I felt like I could talk to about these different things. And so I was just really, I felt alone. And I think that definitely contributed to me ending up burning out. I started to go to work super early. I was already having to get up at probably like 4:30, 4 o'clock. And then I would even go sometimes earlier, get up earlier than that, because I was having to go to prep for labs and doing different stuff, because I teach science. So trying to keep it fun for the kids. And then whenever I kept doing that, I would stay late. I ended up taking papers home with me like every day, grading every day. And I just really got in a headspace. So I was just going through the motions. I wasn't even enjoying what I was doing. I don't even think I really was like that. Whole phase was a blur to me. I couldn't really tell you if I was even impacting the kids. I was just literally doing the best I could with what I had. And so it took me some time to really realize what was happening, because like my body started to change. I started to get headaches all the time out of
Mhm.
nowhere. I started to physically feel like tension. I was complaining to my mom about like my back was hurting, and I'm like, I'm young. Why is my back hurting like
Right,
this? And she was like,
right.
get
Like, what's
some more.
going on?
Yeah, like get some more shoes. I was trying all kinds of different, things or whatever. And so it ended up being where I started to literally on Fridays I would just crash out. And I know teachers, if y'all y'all know how it is, like
Yep.
Fridays, especially if you're really doing your job and you really been especially at the beginning of the school year. Oh my goodness, you're really going in. Like Friday started to become like that's what I'm looking forward to. And as soon as I got home, I would just crash. Well, my mom started to be worried because at that time I was living with her, but I had my daughter was around 2, and she was
Mm.
like, um, Kayland, are you okay? I'm worried about you. I'm concerned. I'm like, this is just a part of it. This is how it's supposed to be. This is just, I'm just getting used to it, da da da. And so I kind of brushed it off. I kept going. And then I just started probably closer to the end of the school year. I was just in a space where I couldn't even pull myself out of it. I was in a funk. I started thinking kind of negatively, started to dread my job. And I just
Mm.
really, I got to the point where my boss at that time, he was like, we want you to come back next year. You did so great. And I'm just like, first of all, thanks, but I don't think I did that great. And second of all, no, thank you, because this school has been so toxic. And yeah, no, I didn't even have a backup plan or anything.
Wow.
I
So
just
you just stuck
told
with
them
it.
no. And so I ended up finding a job closer to home. But over the summer, I really used that time to pour into myself. I was so intentional about recovering from burnout. I was like, this cannot happen again. And I'm such a strategic thinker. I just started to think, what are some things I can do to make sure? Because I love teaching. Like I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just started thinking, what can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen again? This isn't something that happens every year, that I'm not feeling like this all the time. And so I started to create my own self-care strategies, not only that I would use during the summer, but I would use them during the school year. And it really helped me. And I ended up sharing what I was doing with some of my coworkers, and we would talk about it. And then, COVID. Right. COVID made a lot of people sit down, be still, not be able to do a lot of things. And so I ended up hopping on Instagram, starting the Instagram, just thinking I was going to share stuff for, my students, what's going on in my classroom, end up finding the
Mhm.
community. Everybody is
Yeah.
doing such amazing work in the Instagram space. And I ended up connecting with Deidre from Black Girls Teach and joining her membership community, the empowerment circle. And when I
Yeah.
did that, I started to really realize that what I had in the whole self-care realm, people started coming to me asking me questions like, how do you do this, what? And so I was like, okay, this is a thing. Like I could really do something with this, and I could share my expertise with others. And so that's what I started doing. I started posting about self-care. I started making sure that I was going live talking about it, making sure that I wasn't just hoarding all this knowledge for me. I was sharing with the community, sharing with other teachers, because at the end of the day, that's my goal, to help as many, not only educators, but professionals. There's so many different
Yes.
types of professions that go the extra mile, that are known as the ones that go above and beyond. There's nurses, there's social workers, there's counselors, there's administrators. There's so many different types of professionals that deal with burnout, and they deal with toxic work environments. And so I I naturally started talking about it, sharing, and started my business. And it's just been such an amazing journey to be able to watch people, coach people through coming in one way and leaving different, coming in with one mindset and shifting their mindset into making sure that they are taking care of themselves. And so that's pretty much how I ended up here.
What's good, y'all? So this season, Identity Talk for Educators Live will be including ad spots for businesses, products, and events that are adding significant value to their communities. And here's the catch: you don't have to be an educator or an education-based business to be a part of this. We're looking for people who are just doing great work in the community, and we want to use our platform as a way to amplify their work. So if you are an entrepreneur or you know of an entrepreneur who is doing just that, bring them in our direction. Have them reach out to us. If they want to learn more about their ad spots, and how they can get themselves promoted on this platform, they can contact myself, Kwame at identitytalk4educators.com. I'll say it one more time. It is Kwame at identitytalk4educators.com. Hope to hear from you, and let's keep on amplifying our work and building each other up. Awesome. Now, and we're going to talk about D and the empowerment circle in a second.
Yeah.
Shout out to Black Girls Teach, because they
Yeah.
do some phenomenal work with Black women educators. So I want to make sure we do that. But you said something about, how it is with us educators. When Friday comes, if we're not tired enough, we ain't do enough during the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm hearing your story about self-care, and I'm wondering, why is it that we normalize this over exertion
Mm-hmm.
of work? Why is that such a normalized part of what we do as educators? Why do we feel like if we're not doggone tired, we haven't done enough?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that part right there is what gets us in a lot of trouble,
Mm-hmm.
where we just think, man, I still feel great. Like, I want to go out and shoot some hoops, or I want to go on a 10-mile run
Right.
after a
Right.
long 5-day week. But then you think to yourself, nah, I shouldn't be able to do that because I should be tired. Like, I had
Mm-hmm.
a lesson plan, I had to grade papers, I had to call parents, I had to get on some of these kids' behinds. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why am I so energetic? Something must be wrong with me.
Yeah. That right there is where I do the most work has to be done, because it has been normalized, because it is almost like the unspoken rule, right? Like everybody walks in on Monday, like, and then we walking out on Friday, like head hanging down,
Right.
dragging our feet, got these bags, like it's kind of unspoken. And so that's part of the things that have been normalized in education, staying late, coming in early, taking on so many different roles and responsibilities. I actually have been working with someone that is kind of unlearning that, because it's like, I'm a good teacher. So I have to be able to, if they ask me to be on a committee, I have to say yes. And like, we're working on like how to say no, how to delegate tasks, how to make sure that you're not putting too much on your plate, because I really feel like the education system kind of plays on perfectionist tendencies that most educators have. They play
Very
on,
much so.
they play on the whole superwoman, superman, because most educators genuinely want to help. They genuinely have a heart for the students, and they have a heart for education. And so whenever they go into the field and we looking around, what we do is we look around and we see all these other teachers doing these things, and it's like, oh, that's what I need to do to be successful, and we automatically do that. And so even when we're student teaching, right, depending on who your student teacher was or is or whatever, like if you watch them, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're learning from them. And if they are the person that's going in early and staying late, well, guess what? They just taught you something. Even if you didn't realize it, they taught you that is normal, that is okay, that's something you should be doing all the time. If you are friends with other educators and every conversation you have is, oh, I got to stay up late, I got to get these papers graded. Well, they probably didn't mean to, but they're teaching you those behaviors that they have. And that's where the mindset piece comes in, where you have to get in your mind, what is a successful teacher to you? Right? Like society's going to tell us what they think we should do all day long.
Of course.
Same thing with other teachers, right? And this is where I kind of butt heads with some teachers, because there's the old school teachers that's like, this is how I've been doing it for years, and I'm just like, you know what? You can keep going down that road and be burned out and stressed out and all that. I'm going to continue to walk at my own pace, do things in my own way that invite ease into my life.
That's
because
right.
I am a great teacher just I can teach. I was talking to somebody earlier. I was like, it's not even an arrogance thing. I know my craft. I am someone that is very confident. If I don't care, I'll leave my door open and teach. You can come in and see what's going on in my classroom at any time because I know what I'm doing, right? Right. So it's like if I know that that's what I'm bringing to the table, it doesn't matter if I come in earlier, later, whatever. Like I'm still phenomenal regardless. And it was very interesting because the year I set the most boundaries, the year I felt like I was really saying no and prioritizing myself, that's the year I won Teacher of the Year. That was last year. And so it was one of those things where it was like, is this real? Because it just reminded me, and it just brought me to the space where you can prioritize yourself and still be amazing. You can put yourself first and your family first and your mental health first and still do your job and still be great at your job. And I think that that's the thing where people are missing out. They're like, they feel like they have to sacrifice this part of them in order to be great at this other thing. And it's like, no other profession is like that. You leave work and you leave work at work, right? Teachers are like, nope, I'm taking work home and I'm going to keep doing it. And I'm going to do it 24/7. And it's like, no, you don't have to do that.
It has to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way at all.
No, not at all. And since you bring it up, I'm sure people in the audience are wondering, it's a new school year, fresh start, fresh set of students in the classroom. What are some things that our teaching colleagues can do to establish that strong self-care foundation that you're speaking of from the start of the year all the way through to the end and hopefully beyond that?
Right. I love this question because it really makes me think about what I do in my classroom. And I really would say that, as educators, we often feel like putting ourselves first is kind of something we shouldn't do. It feels wrong. It feels bad. But the first thing I invite everyone to do is to accept the fact that if you don't take care of yourself, no one else will. If you don't take care of yourself, your students won't have you for long, right? And I'm saying they won't have this version of you. They won't have the excited version that's happy to have them and, smiling and greeting them as they come in, because eventually you're going to experience burnout if you're not taking care of yourself. So that's definitely where you start. Start with reminding yourself that you want to be the best teacher that you can possibly be for your students. And that starts with you making sure you're creating systems in your classroom that help you in the long run. They might be difficult to set up at first. It might be something where you're kind of going against the book. Maybe the students don't really like it. Maybe other teachers in your building aren't doing it, right? But you are creating systems and routines that help you in the long run. So something that I know I mentioned earlier is the fact that I have not even given out my syllabus yet. I'm giving it out tomorrow, right? And I know most teachers is like, the first day of school, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm not telling you not to, but what I am telling you to do is just think about, are you doing things just because other teachers in your building are doing it? Or are you doing things because that's the flow of your classroom? Like really think about what you want the flow to be in your classroom. What are the routines you want to have in place? What are the different jobs or tasks you want your students to do on their own? And build a community where the students are able to talk to you and understand, build empathy in them. Because I teach high school and they still don't have empathy, right? Like we have to talk about these things. Even like yesterday I was telling you before we started, medical emergency that happened at my school, I had to let my students, because that happened kind of the middle of the day. Then I had my planning period. So at the end of the day, I was just not having a good day, and it was just stressful. And so I told them, I was like, I want to be honest with you guys. I'm not in the best headspace right now, right? I really hope that we can come in and get this done, and everybody, we only got a few more hours, da da da. And so they were very understanding. And so don't just think that your students can't handle those types of conversations. Be honest with them about, I'm not saying go in and tell your whole life story and, hey, I'm struggling, I'm getting a divorce, or such and such happened last night. But I am saying, be a human. Don't be above reproach. Don't make it so like you're on this pedestal and you are perfect. Because when you start doing that, that means you got to put on that perfect mask every day. And the one day that you're not feeling it, the one day that you end up having, kind of an off day, the students are not going to know, or your coworkers, other people, they're just not going to know how to handle you. So it's okay to share your not so strong moments with them. And that just lets them know that, hey, oh, okay, I see that. Like I can respect that. And so building routines is something else. Like I am being super intentional about how I start my year off, because I know how I want my year to end, right?
Sure.
I'm putting in work now, making sure that my students know, when you come in, this is what you do. When you come in, this is what you do. We're going to talk about this every day. When you come in, this is what you do. So when you do come in, I'm going to praise you. I'm going to be like, yay, you did it. That one time you don't come in, I'm going to remind you again, oh, you didn't do it. And so eventually they end up teaching each other like, hey, remember, don't forget. And so those are the small things that'll help you in the long run, that you don't have to keep reteaching. You don't have to keep going over and over again. Because I think that's part of what stresses most teachers out. It's like, man, I can't get to them. They're not paying attention. It's like, but we can't just say it to them one time and think that they got it. Even if they're older kids, you can't just assume that they understand the protocols in your class, because they have 6 or 7 different classes with 6 or 7 different teachers with different personalities, different rules, and all of those things. So it's really important to keep that in mind, that your students are able to handle routines, but you have to be the person to build them consistently and not stop. Don't give up. Don't, just because you might think that it's getting aggravated in the beginning, lay that very firm foundation, so that sometimes you might need to have a self-care day where you can prioritize your mental health. So it's easier to do that when you have students that are you've built that culture and climate with in the classroom. So yeah, I feel like as an educator, you just have to be really intentional about how you show up for yourself, and making sure that you create systems that are simple, but it might be bite-sized. It might just be in certain moments where you remind yourself that you are good. And I promise you won't regret it at all. I know some things that I do during the school year, I'm really intentional about making sure that, because I get a planning period, I know that everyone doesn't, but when I have my planning period, I just make sure I'm good first. If I make sure I'm good first with my planning period, then I can go make copies. Then I can go run errands or whatever the case might be. But I make sure I'm good first. If I need to pour into myself with some music really quick, if I need to listen to a quick little motivational whatever, I do that first. And then I go handle whatever business I need to handle.
All right. Well, speaking on business, and we're going to be winding down here. I want to give you a chance to talk about your business. So you said that you started to learn more and more about self-care just from your own experiences. You started to share this knowledge to people on social media. And then it eventually evolved into you wanting to start a business where you're helping other teachers and other professionals, I'm sure,
Yeah.
learn how to develop better habits as it relates to self-care. So I want to give you a chance to just talk about your services and what you do to provide that support to different professionals.
Well, thank you for this opportunity. So I am a personal development coach. So I do help high achieving professionals improve their systems, create healthy habits that help them to sustain, that help them to be able to do the jobs that they all love. I definitely center my work around educators, around social workers, around any really service professional that serves others, because I just have such a great, I know recently, one of my, one of my, one of the people that I'm working with, she told me about the fact that she used to watch me on social media and all I talked about was teachers. And she was like, what you talk about helps me too. And she's a nurse. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. And so that just kind of reaffirmed the fact that the shift, because I really was focused on only teachers. And don't get me wrong, teaching is my jam. Like, I support educators, but I also support the folks that are experiencing, toxic work environments in other ways and dealing with burnout as well. So I am a coach. I love coaching. I have one-on-one sessions. I have small group coaching. I'm actually getting ready to gear up to reopen Self-Care University. I'm so excited about that, to have another group of educators going through. It's a small group, so about 6 to 8 folks that are looking to really intentionally do the work and put in the work to create systems that help them to be successful, to unlearn. We talked about it earlier about the things we wish we would have known. Mm-hmm. I also think a lot about the things that we have to unlearn and relearn, because there are so many toxic things that we don't even realize we're doing, that we're hurting ourselves by not taking care of ourselves the way that we deserve. So navigating burnout, navigating these difficult situations that a lot of folks are experiencing and just don't know how to get out of it, because it's like, this is just how it's been forever. Well, I'm here to let you know that it doesn't have to be like that. There are things that you can do to implement self-care consistently, to make sure that you're pouring into yourself consistently. You can still be the amazing parent. You can still be the amazing professional. You can still wear the different hats. I'm not saying stop and don't do anything, but what I am saying is that you can also create boundaries. You can also create different avenues that help you to show up for yourself the way you deserve.
All that. And you'll get a chance to just share your information at the end.
Yeah.
But I want to close out this great conversation with 3 questions. And once again, it's identity talk. So we're talking about how you're developing self. So my first question to you is, how do you stay true to the teacher in you?
Oh, I love that. So staying true to the teacher in me, what that sounds like, feels like, it's really one of those things where, I know we kind of touched on identity and like authenticity. I really thrive whenever I'm able to just be me. And so I find that the best moments that I have in the classroom, the best moments that I have when I'm working with my coaching clients, are whenever I'm just really being able to have those genuine discussions, have those authentic moments where it's like, look, this is me and this is how I show up, and this is it, and not it in a bad way. I know sometimes we're like, this is it. No, like, this is it. This is me. And I don't have to put on this mask to pretend like I'm anything other than, who I'm being in this moment. And so it's really important to stay true to that authentic version of me, making sure that I am not just talking the talk, but I'm walking the walk. Right? Like, I'm taking care of me. I know so many people that have been like, in the past few months, especially, I notice a difference. Like, what's going on? And I'm just like, y'all just don't understand. When you take care of you, this is what that looks like. This is what it feels like. This is what you should always be operating at this level where you're getting better and better, because you feel better and better, and it shows on the outside. Your inside starts to show on the outside.
Yes, all of that. And then the last question is, when your career is over as an educator, how do you want your students and your colleagues to remember you? What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
Oh, that's a good one. Okay, so I mean, I want to be known as the teacher that was a disruptor, that shook
Mm,
some things up, that
yeah,
didn't do things the way that the average teacher did it. The teacher that was able to go in and see something and be very strategic and intentional about making shifts, and go in with that one class that nobody else wanted and come out with a whole class of scholars,
come
just
on.
because she was able to, just because she had, the gumption to try. I think a lot of times we limit our beliefs, we limit ourselves because we don't take those challenging moments and make lemonades out of the lemons. But I just really want to be known as someone that prioritizes herself consistently.
Awesome, awesome. Kaylin, this was a great first episode. I knew this would be a great idea. I just knew it. So many gems, and I just gotta say, I'm just so proud of you. I remember when I first started to follow you on IG, and you were still trying to come out your shell, and then once you started to hook up with Black Girls Teach D and Empowerment Circle, that I started to see you really like build that profile. Like you really started to put in more effort into the content, and
Right.
I've just seen it really evolve. Like you doing it,
Thank you.
you
Thank
really
you.
doing it. And I be watching. Like I be watching. Like, oh man, like Kaylin, she coming up with this content. Let me find out. Got the logo and everything. Got the website. Like she's not playing. She is
Right.
not playing. So I just want to say that I'm proud of you, and I'm gonna continue to support. Listen, let people know how they can connect with you on social media and beyond so they can take advantage of your services of self-care and personal development.
Definitely, definitely. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I remember when we first connected as well. I remember you gave me a spotlight, and I was like, oh my god, I think I have it saved on my Instagram somewhere. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. So it's just
Yeah,
a full circle moment to be on your platform. So I really appreciate you for offering, the chance to come here and do this. So I do offer professional development. I offer one-on-one coaching, small group coaching, speaking engagements. I do conferences, all different types of things. So if you would like to work with me in any capacity, um, hello at Kayland Lamar is my email address. So you can always reach out to me there. And Instagram is the most, I do the most work on Instagram. I go live quite often. So my handle on Instagram is Kayland Lamar. Is just my name, KaylandLamar. And I absolutely love it there as well. That's just my space. But I'm also on Facebook, same handle, and I'm also on Twitter. So those are the main places you can find me.
awesome. Well, Kaylin, thank you so much for your time. And we may need to bring you back for a part two later in the season. We'll see if we can work
Yes.
that in.
Yes, that would be great.
Yes. But I'm wishing you a good school year. Not even a good school year, a great school year.
Yeah.
And I'm praying that you continue to prioritize your self care moving forward, as you always do. It's some tough times. So
Definitely.
you gotta do it, gotta do it. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
All right, y'all. So that was first episode of season 3. Hopefully y'all gained some gems. I know I did. And we're gonna keep this thing going week after week after week. So please continue to show up, continue to tune in every Thursday, whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watching it on YouTube. I appreciate the support and look forward to doing this again and again, week after week. So, as of right now, I'm going to wish you all a good morning, a good afternoon, Good night, wherever you are in the world. We're going to do this again another time. Peace out, y'all.